Hi, I am Katie from the blog Heart's Content Farmhouse, and today I want to talk about instant yeast versus regular yeast and why instant yeast is the only one you should be using for baking bread. Most people are really familiar with regular yeast. The most common brand is Fleischmann's, I think is how you say it. It comes in those little packets in the baking aisle. It's expensive and the packets are annoying to deal with. Instant yeast looks exactly the same, but it comes in the mail. You can also get it at Costco in like a big vacuum sealed brick. It is less than $7 for an entire pound of yeast. Compare that to spending over $1 for a packet, which is 2 1/4 teaspoons. So if you are a regular baker, it just makes so much more sense to have this instant yeast and to buy it in bulk. Not only is it less expensive, it's also just way more convenient. Obviously a huge brick is not terribly convenient to deal with, but when you open it up, you are able to just pour it into this. This is just a plain mason jar. You can see I took it right out of the freezer. And when you put it in the freezer, it's not like it hardens into a block. It stays like this, really fluid, easy to scoop out, and it lasts over a year in the freezer, in a jar. So if you have a recipe that calls for a teaspoon of yeast and you open a packet, now you have this half empty packet. You're going to put a rubber band around it, put it in your spice cabinet, and not be able to find it when you need it and end up buying more, wasting your money. But with this, you take out exactly what you need, put it back in the freezer, and it's waiting for you for when you need it again. The second thing about instant yeast is that it is way less finicky than regular yeast. So if you look at a lot of bread recipes, the first step is always get warm water, 95 degrees to 105 degrees. Put in warm water, a teaspoon of sugar, your yeast, and let it foam up to proof it and see if it's, you don't need to do that with instant yeast. You just dump it in like any other ingredient, like you're adding baking soda, and you're done. There's no foaming, and it's just, you don't need to do that. You don't need to worry about it getting wet while you're mixing your dough. So some bread recipes will say, put your liquid ingredients, then your dry ingredients, and then make a well, and put your yeast in with the dry ingredients so that the yeast doesn't touch the water, which totally contradicts that first proofing step, but whatever. You don't need to do that either. Again, you put them in any order, you need it, and it's fine. Now, the next benefit of instant yeast is that it's a little bit faster. So if a proof time is normally 60 minutes, sometimes you can get away with around 45. But in my experience, it doesn't really make that big of a difference, which is why I think instant yeast is a bad name for it. It gives you this impression that it's like a quick thing that isn't really going to give you a real yeasted bread. That's not true at all. It's just a little bit different. It's not as finicky about the temperatures that it is needed to be activated, so it will rise in a cold space. It'll take a little bit longer, but it will still rise in a cold space, whereas sometimes regular yeast won't. It needs that warm room temperature to be activated properly. So in my opinion, regular yeast shouldn't even exist. If you are baking at all, even a few times a year, it is going to be worth it to you to get that 1 pound block of instant yeast. So you can get it at most warehouse stores like Costco. You can get it from Amazon. It's really readily available. It is so much more convenient, so much less expensive, and so much easier to work with that there is no reason to ever have regular yeast in your home. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you get some instant yeast, and I'm going to link below to Amazon where I get it really inexpensively. So thank you for watching. Have a really good day and happy baking.